Does this work? Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. I'm going to assume it works. Water. Philosophy. Sorry.
Philosophy. Sorry. From the Greek word philosophia, meaning love of wisdom. Perhaps this is the most pretentious, pompous, and ostentatious topic one can have in mind. Just the word itself, or rather the word, not the world, the word itself, brings to mind the image of bearded men in robes arguing over utter nonsense with no consequence to the ordinary human person, or even of no consequence to the greater scheme of things. After all, why does the meaning of life even matter if we know that in the end we are in fact alive? And although I am no virtuoso in the art known as philosophy, I have been studying it for a little over 2 years now, but in a formal setting only half a year. It is still my wish to share my own observations in what little this pitiful brain of mine has managed to comprehend. In order to make this simple and understandable to the general public, I will be avoiding particular names of philosophers and school of thought. And that's probably gonna be a little bit hard, so you'll have to excuse me if I end up saying names and concepts. Just as a disclaimer, a lot of the concepts here come directly from my studies, and a lot of the details here may or may not be intertwined with my own beliefs, stemming from my own understanding of said concept. Part 1. We live in a society. The human person is intersubjective. The existence of one person can only be affirmed if another person is there to confirm their existence, and vice versa. This implies that the relationship between people is indispensable. We all know that this is true. This concept also presents its own ethical implications, as this would undoubtedly also imply that a person only matters in contrast to another person. I would argue that this is exactly the case. The concept of I-thou basically implies the codependence and coexistence of individuals, whereas I is the baseline, basically meaning that I understand the world around myself as the differences and similarities of those things to me, whereas thou is you, the other, the listener, where you define yourselves as your differences with me and the others around me, or rather around you, not me. This thou to me or to the I is different to the I or me. To them, the thou is the fellow people, the other people around us. They have similarities, but they also have differences. It is through these that empathy and responsibility towards our fellow people is achievable. The reasons these things matter is because of what it means in daily life. The practice and belief of intersubjectivity and its related ethics can make or break a society. This brings to mind another question, that being, what on earth is a society? I said earlier that we live in a society, but what does that mean? What even is society? Simply put, a society is a large group of people formed throughout generations upon generations. Each society has their own beliefs and way of doing things. They are also made up of different people, usually of similar and remarkable similarities. These similarities come about from the power of a society to influence and shape individuals within said society. A power that comes about due to the fact that humans are a social animal. We crave society, we crave other people. In a way, the person is only a reflection of the society they belong to. We don't just live in a society. In a sense, we are society. All of the concepts that we think of religion, humanity, ethics, and all those things that we might consider just fundamental, they are all merely a reflection of our society. Part 2. The world from a human perspective. Christians believe that the human person was put on earth as a punishment towards Adam and Eve, the first people, and in extension, the human race. Be that as it may, we have since then slowly started to understand the world around us. It's possible this may not be wholly accurate in the cosmic scale, but from the human perspective, the world is incredibly vast. In fact, we do not even fully understand ourselves. So for the most part, we only understand the world around us as it is in relation to ourselves. Throughout Western history's many philosophers, the only constant seems to be that we understand the world in relation to the human. For example, realism posits that things merely exist as they are. They are what they are no matter when there is a person to perceive it or not. However, the crux of this is that we only know what something is once we have perceived it. For all we know, something could behave completely differently when we aren't looking. In this sense, one can argue that everything, and I mean everything, is in fact anthropocentric. Realism, pragmatism, idealism, existentialism, even modern science or any other school of thought, all of it relies on the fact that we humans only understand the world as what it is when compared to us. We cannot understand anything without human factors. The act of studying is, in itself, a human factor. As such, we cannot truly understand the world in isolation to ourselves. Even if we think we do, we cannot verify that it is still the case once the human no longer perceives it, with technology or otherwise. In conclusion, we cannot understand anything not related to ourselves. To be human is to think of everything in relation to, like I said, ourselves. We may delude ourselves into thinking that this is how things are, but, and I say this again, but we cannot verify this claim because we cannot see something we are not involved in. We can only try to study ourselves and the world around us in a futile attempt to understand the world. However, in the end, we will never really know the truth. So why, despite this, we still make attempt after attempt to understand the world? And although it is undoubtedly futile, in the grand scale, does not mean that our actions are worthless. Quite the contrary. We don't need to understand how the world works without us because there is no point in finding out. When this world is without us, we do not experience it. We only need to keep on studying the world and the universe in relation to us. As in the end, that's all that really matters to us. What happens before humans and after humans is beyond the human scope.
That's all there is I have to say. This is my understanding of my studies so far, and I would once again like to state that I am merely a student. My words are worth very little and should not be taken too seriously. I would like to thank you for wasting your time listening to me. I am Yuan Pulido. Thank you.